Hey, what's up guys? So we're back with more Helldivers 2 content. If you're new channel, welcome. We're going to be jumping into not just one, but three videos today. And they were recommended to me by my subscribers who I played with on a Helldivers 2 live stream. So basically, after like a few operations here and there, I asked them, is there anything you guys can tell me a little bit more about Helldivers 2? And the one thing that kept on coming up was something called the MALEVELON Creek. And now I don't know what MALEVELON Creek is, but I did watch a Helldivers 2 review video by MaxOR, and I hope I said it correctly. But however, he did mention MALEVELON Creek on there, and basically I do remember him saying, showing a picture of like a veteran's cap, and it says MALEVELON Creek veteran, and on top of that, he kept on referring it to as Vietnam. Basically, from what I hear is it was very difficult and people kept dying over and over again. And basically, I know it's an automaton territory because I actually went on to Helldivers 2 and went all the way to the location and I found it. So it is automaton's territory, and on top of that, people basically say like all you see is just like red eyes and like lights coming through the trees and everything. It's like a nightmare, PTSD and all that. But basically it says like the death rates are really high and it's just crazy. So I'm gonna be watching three videos. One is first the massacre of MALEVELON Creek, and the other one is the history of MALEVELON Creek, and the third one is the tragedy of MALEVELON Creek. Now they are three different channels, but however I'm willing to bet that some facts will overlap, but in my opinion, that is a good thing. It means that it is accurate and they do match. So you might hear the same thing over and over again, but if that's the case, then maybe I'll just skip forward a little bit and see where it goes from there. So without anything else, let's just jump into the videos. Alright guys, this is the very first video. This one is called The Massacre of MALEVELON Creek Helldivers by the Templin Institute. And let's take a look. Whoa. Just replayed the whole thing for some reason. Oh yeah, I used that wallpaper as one of my thumbnails.
The Helldiver Corps is aptly named. Its soldiers drop feet first into the deadliest theaters of war that Super Earth has to offer. Frozen tundras where biting winds strips flesh from bone, barren wastes where the air itself ignites in the blazing sun, and ancient forests so dark and deep that liberty itself cannot escape its winding trails. The Helldivers have dropped into 1,000 different hells. It was inevitable that one among them would reach out to leave the first bloody mark on the legacy of the Corps itself. And in the Severin sector, in the first year of the Galactic War, one world awaited its rendezvous with death and history. One world would become a battlefield of endless jungles, where ones and zeros echoed through the tattered leaves, and the horizon flashed with deadly neon. One world where the streams ran red with the blood of patriots.
Oh, by the way, those of you guys who are watching this, if you have experienced MALEVELON Creek, please put down in the comments below and please describe your experiences. I actually want to hear a little bit more, like how it was for you. And I mean, like it's pretty much the same. It was horrible, it was difficult, things like that, but I still want to hear your guys' stories. I know I'm making it sound like you guys are old World War II veterans or like Vietnam War veterans, but still, I want to hear you guys' experience because I have a lot of fun with the game. And like I said, I started recently. I didn't start 10 months ago like all of you guys, so this is just my limited knowledge and experience.
There are 1,000 different hells in the galaxy. There is only one, MALEVELON Creek.
MALEVELON. I kept on saying MALEVELON.
In the early days of the Galactic War, As the Helldiver Corps spearheaded the Super Earth offensive across the galaxy, a sense of overconfidence had permeated throughout its ranks. The opening battles against the insectoid Terminids on the worlds of Heath and Angel's Venture had been extremely promising, and the Corps eagerly expected to extend the offensive across the whole of the neighboring Umlaut sector. Amidst the excitement of this initial campaign, the first reports from the distant automaton front, centered in the Severin sector, were almost entirely overlooked. The Helldivers mobilized there reported especially brutal fighting on one world that acted as the gateway to the rest of the sector. The planet was known as Malevelon Creek. It was a primordial world of dense alien jungles, twisting, slender trees and thick ferns with spiky fronds, all blanketed under an ethereal blue-tinged mist.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for pausing it again. My subscribers did say that since this event or whatever happened here was so famous or happened to so many people that it was basically like canonized or something like that.
Horizon into a haunted soup of moving shapes and shifting shadows. There was no day or night on Malevelon Creek, only an eerie twilight that persisted on the edge of both. Tens of thousands of Helldivers had already perished on the planet, even as their frantic reports and pleas for reinforcements were dismissed as exaggerations and panic-induced overreactions. The Super Earth High Command, fresh off the capture of Heath, was reluctant to pull resources away from the advancing Terminid front, and so the initial defenders of Malevelon Creek were forced to endure some of the most intense fighting of the war in almost complete isolation. Gradually, however, as tales of the fighting began to spread across the galactic wide web, the extent of the emerging disaster on Malevelon Creek became more widely known. Helldiver reinforcements flooded into the Severin sector, but rather than shoring up the front's crumbling defenses, their arrival only deepened the chaotic nature of the battle. The arrivals were all veterans of the Terminid campaigns, but against a fundamentally different kind of enemy. They found their tactics and strategies hopelessly outmoded and ineffective. Veterans of 100 drops, Helldivers who had held the line against overwhelming waves of razor-clawed arachnids, were now effortlessly blasted into a bloody mist by advanced weaponry, or crushed from above by dropships loaded with strange machines. They were relentlessly, mercilessly pressed from all sides, hammered by mortars, tanks, and brutally effective fighting socialists. The automatons prepared defensive positions.
I gotta look up some gameplay of this.
And could quickly redeploy when threatened. No matter how many were cut down by small arms or reduced to slag from orbital fire, the jungle forever glowed with red lights, piercing through the mist. Casualties skyrocketed and morale plummeted. Many Helldivers transferred back to the Terminid front, while those that remained on Malevelon Creek struggled to counter the immense numbers and devastating tactics of the automatons.
Damn, look at the eyes behind.
But lacking
That's
an
scary.
effective strategy, Super Earth High Command focused on establishing a defensive posture, but this could only delay the inevitable. The beachhead established by the Helldivers on the planet eroded day by day, with even the most successful defense unable to shift the momentum of the wider fighting. Yet amongst the Helldivers deployed to the creek, a new cadre of veterans was emerging. Many of its members had fought the automatons since day one, while others had answered the desperate call for reinforcements and refused to leave for easier battlefields once the nature of the fighting had presented itself. Together, the old guard of Malevelon Creek and these new steadfast recruits combined the lessons of both theaters and committed themselves to fighting the battles no one else could. While other Helldivers merely could.
What I noticed when I used this image as a wallpaper for my live stream thumbnail, I noticed that on the pot it says liberty. So, and that is like one of the dialogue lines that the Helldivers always use. How about a cup of liberty?
Good. While other Helldivers merely held the line, these warriors advanced relentlessly, sometimes by miles, sometimes just inches. They snaked their way through robot-infested swamps day by day, enduring the most terrible of hardships at even the slightest chance to push the line forward. They rescued scientists, collected samples, and spread democracy across the creek in 100 other ways. To them, defending the world was not enough. It had to be retaken, and there could be no substitute for what the fight required. They wore the shattered gears and sensors of slain automatons as grim trophies, their faces smeared with oil as they immersed themselves in the silicon viscera of the enemy. They came to be known as the Creek Crawlers.
Oh, really?
Units like the Creek Crawlers and others that made a name for themselves during the fighting
Don't let the enemy
turned
get
their
up.
struggle into a great propaganda effort. The Creek was elevated to an almost mythical status, a place where a Helldiver could test their mettle and prove themselves. But in an ironic twist so common in war, the symbolic value of the planet would be the primary cause of its fall. So desperate was Super Earth to liberate Malevelon Creek that other, equally important worlds were overlooked. When the automatons established beachheads on Mantas and Draupnir, they threatened to cut off access to the entire Severan sector. In at least 2 instances, the creek was isolated from further reinforcements as neighboring worlds were lost, only to be
Makes
hastily
sense.
reinforced as fierce Super Earth counterattacks worked to keep these planets contested. But in each case, far too many Helldivers were committed solely to the creek, while the worlds that made the fighting there possible shriveled on the vine. In orbit of the planet, the fighting was every bit as intense, as thousands of super destroyers struggled to maintain the corridors into the sector while providing support to forces on the ground. Their ability to accomplish the latter was increasingly stymied by severe ion storms, turning what was already a deadly battlefield into a slaughter. The planet
Because the ion
was soon
storms?
cut off once again.
Oh yeah, because I remember that on the effects. The ion storms prevents like stratagems being used and things like that. So that makes sense, right? It took me a second.
The planet was soon cut off once again. On February 25th, roughly 2 weeks into the start of the Galactic War, the last Helldiver teams on Malevelon Creek were killed, and Super Earth High Command declared the planet fully lost. The fighting moved into the Tsar sector, ending all hope of a quick end to the Automaton War. Complexity and tragedy are inherent to warfare. It was inevitable that at some time, on some world, Super Earth would suffer its first defeat. But at the start of the Galactic War, with the universe seemingly ripe for the conquest, even the most pragmatic Helldiver could not have been prepared for what lay ahead. Now, the veil of ignorance has been lifted, the stage is set, and the stakes are clear. Other hells will soon dominate the headlines of the galactic wide web, new battlefields that may even eclipse the terrible fighting in the Severan sector. But no matter how fierce the battles or dramatic the campaigns, the memory of Malevelon Creek will endure. Its bloody mark has been left across the whole of the Helldiver core, the whole of Super Earth. It has shaped the souls of those who survived and gifted them their most sacred duty, to carry forward the legacy of those that fell during the massacre at Malevelon Creek.
Wow.
In High Command, the Template Institute investigates the greatest battles.
Oh, I said that. My
In
bad.
High Command, the Template Institute investigates the greatest battles, conflicts, and wars from across alternate worlds. If you've enjoyed this video and would like to join the Template Institute, consider pledging to our Patreon page. Along with increased security access, you'll be able to vote in polls to determine future topics, get custom wallpaper every week, and receive some other exclusive rewards.
Yeah, I mean, that is really great. I mean, Federation of Super Earth. I might have to look into that. So I might have to save that video. But I mean, this was really well presented. I really like that. How it's presented, how it's described and everything. So it sounds like Malevelon Creek is just a location that can never be played again. It's just there for show. So, but either way, yeah, like I said, it really did sound like a Vietnam War. Now, the next one is the entire history of Malevelon Creek, Helldivers 2, and is by Super Earth Salute.
Throughout the history of Super Earth's quest for widespread democracy, countless battles have been fought across hundreds of planets. However, one planet in particular has risen above the rest to become the most infamous in the galaxy, Malevelon Creek. Let's take a closer look at the planet, its history, and honor the Helldivers who helped shape its future. Located in the Severin sector, and often referred to as the Creek, this unassuming planet quickly became the most treacherous of the original Western Front. The Creek features thick jungle vegetation, large bodies of water, and frequent ion storms. Each of these attributes provided unique challenges for the SEAF that were not...
Like I said, it took me a second to realize why ion storms were so deadly, and then, like I said, disable stratagems. It took me a second to remember that.
Found on other planets at the time. The dense jungle restricts visibility, making movement difficult and drastically increases chances of automaton ambushes on unsuspecting squads. In addition, the large bodies of water allow automaton patrols to utilize choke points that have proved to be difficult for some Helldivers to combat. On top of this, ion storms frequently bombard the planet, restricting communications with any orbiting super destroyers, thus limiting the use of crucial stratagems needed on the planet's surface. Super Earth forces were initially successful in taking control of the Creek, but all that changed on February 8, 2184. Considered the start of the First Great Battle, small-scale conflicts between the SEAF and automaton forces broke out early in the day. To combat this new outbreak of automatons, Super Earth enacted the usual strategy of mass deployments onto the planet's surface, but this proved largely ineffective due to the aforementioned ion storms and thick vegetation. The Helldivers thus engaged in large-scale napalm barrages in an attempt to reduce the jungle cover and limit the automaton's strategic advantage. This tactic allowed for some leeway for already deployed forces, but heavy losses remained consistent. Struggling to deal with the situation, Super Earth decided to introduce a recruitment drive known as Fight for the Creek, a mass call to arms for citizens to sign up and help purge the planet of the ever-increasing automaton threat. Soon thereafter, the Ministry of Truth reported a 12% increase in enlistments as citizens stepped up to help with the liberation of the Creek. Initially, these efforts seemed to be successful in pushing back the bots. However, a large-scale automaton counteroffensive was then launched on February 27, 2184. This attack was so effective that it resulted in the fall of Malevelon Creek as well as the entire Severin sector being lost to the automatons. At the same time, two strategically important planets, Draupnir and Mantis, were also lost, effectively closing off all access to the Creek. While this was seen as a huge defeat for Super Earth, small pockets of super destroyers remained in orbit around the besieged planet and continued the fight. These remaining Helldivers continued to fight on the fallen planet and quickly became known as the Creekers. Among these Creekers was a
I just want to add a few things for me personally. So when we fought automatons with my squad, it is literally impossible to win without any stratagems because most of them are so heavily armored. I mean, you could take out maybe some of them with just your rifles and your grenades, but some of them are so heavily armored that you really need bombs and sentry turrets to even just get a chance of winning. But if they bring in a tank or those big Hulk looking machines, then it's pretty much a lost cause. So, but anyways, like I said, if you guys have experience in Malevelon Creek, and I really like to hear you guys' stories, like how was your first time there, or like how long did you last, things like that.
faction known as the First Helldiver Honor Guard. These brave soldiers, led by Death Captain
Hey, I got the armor.
were some of the first to regularly fight, as well as train new recruits on the creek before its restrictions.
It's the
First
Super
Helldiver
Citizen
Honor
Edition.
Guard participated in every major order leading up to the fall of the creek, and continued battling throughout the entirety of the upcoming events. Being part of the Creekers legend became a large portion of the Honor Guard's story, which was reflected in direct quotes from the group. "We were literally behind enemy lines and up shit creek without a paddle. We were left behind by High Command during the panic, and thus became one of the first squads on the planet at the time. It became our goal to extract the last civilians on the final transport off planet." This was in fact the goal the First Helldiver Honor Guard was able to achieve, successfully completing every mission that was available to them. The second Battle of Malevelon Creek took place between February 28th and April 1st, 2184. The Creekers who remained on planet or in orbit seemingly found success while resisting automaton forces by engaging in small-scale sieges on bot installations. Honor Guard members were crucial during this time in the conflict, fending off countless waves of automatons and holding their ground despite the enormous pressure the Clankers continued to apply to them. "We did a lot of things on the creek. From that time we dropped in a lake and fought what was effectively a whole automaton army over the course of 30 minutes, to the time we dropped 4 destroyers worth of Eagle strikes and destruction on a singular Hulk VIP, all as a final honor to our time on Malevelon Creek during its fall." Marshal Warshark 2356. Success seemed certain until automaton forces launched yet another counterattack, thus preventing the SEAF from advancing any further. High Command reported countless lives lost with little to no gains on the front line. The creek had become nothing short of a bloodbath, with Helldivers and super citizens falling in their droves as they struggled to hold back the mechanized socialist tyranny of the bots.
Hey.
Falling
That was me. Literally, I got hit by a blast. By the time I get up, I get shot again. I'm dead.
in their droves as they struggled to hold back the mechanized socialist tyranny of the bots. During this time, the Creekers were able to leak extremely gruesome details of the slaughter to High Command, that severed heads and mutilated bodies were being put on display as trophies at many automaton bases, taunting those who still remained with promises of a brutal and vicious end. There were also multiple reports of bot death camps where SEAF personnel were being mutilated, dismembered, and eventually killed after hours of slow, relentless torture. The evils of the automatons truly know no limits. Naturally, this resulted in the Ministry of Truth releasing a statement.
And don't like some of the automatons have like the skulls placed above them and things like that, or because like some of the automatons look like they use skulls as their faceplates, or they're just mimicking it, like a human skull. If you guys happen to know, please put it down in the comments.
Automatons truly know no limits. Naturally, this resulted in the Ministry of Truth releasing a statement that the automatons are incapable of morality and empathy, and that under no circumstances should mercy be given to these socialist monsters. Many Creekers, including the First Honor Guard, use this information as motivation to continue their fight, evolving their tactics to keep up with the bots' aggression and inhumanity. The automatons may be a menace, but baiting their hordes into inopportune spots is their downfall. Stand your ground, but know when to pull back. Reassess, then throw CAS stratagems and traps. Disengage if under too much suppressive fire, and destroy the most threatening groups near you. Once that is done, relocate and deal with objectives. Death Captain Saphis. At the same time the Creekers and the First Honor Guard struggled to fight off automaton forces on Malevelon Creek, battles were being waged by the SEAF on two nearby planets.
By the way, are those names game
Thousands
players?
of super destroyers engaged both planets in an attempt to reopen the access way to the creek and provide crucial assistance to those who remained on the embattled planet. Initial frontline communications to High Command from Mantis and Draupnir reported heavy automaton losses as they continued their relentless assault against the SEAF. Thus, the fight to reopen the Severin sector continued with little to no progress all the way until March 4th, 2184. Eventually, after much effort, the Helldivers were able to retake Mantis, finally providing potential access to Malevelon Creek. Unfortunately for those who remained on the creek, the extreme losses suffered and slow progress in retaking Mantis caused Super Earth High Command to reassign personnel to aid the SEAF attempting to retake Draupnir instead of pushing directly onto Malevelon Creek. However, shortly after this reassignment to Draupnir, the planet was successfully liberated, allowing for reliable access to the creek for the first time since its initial loss. Immediately following the recapture of Draupnir, High Command issued a major order to the SEAF to eliminate the automaton threat on Malevelon Creek. With the
That's
creek
a
now
major
fully
order.
accessible, super destroyers executed FTL jumps from across the galaxy, flocking to the planet to provide reinforcements to the remaining Creekers who continued to hold out to the best of their ability. Finally having the aid they so sorely needed, the Creekers and SCAF engaged in a large-scale offensive to retake the planet, hurling their full might into what was to be one of the most monumental endeavors in Super Earth's history.
Damn.
The Helldivers proceeded to bombard the planet with massive amounts of reinforcements and stratagems, doing their very best to destroy the bots' infrastructure and remove their strategic advantage at any cost. Upon analyzing casualties, High Command reported that losses during these engagements were in the hundreds of thousands, if not millions, and were more than double that of the first and third battles combined. Regardless, the overwhelming number of Helldivers were eventually successful in pushing through enemy lines and retaking
I didn't
key
know you could do
positions
that.
on the planet's surface. Finally, on April 2nd, 2184, after what seemed to be an endless number of grueling engagements, it appeared that victory had been attained, and celebrations broke
wait.
out across the number of
He's called Disappointed Dunsky, and he's called Wolfrange.
grueling engagements, it appeared that victory had been attained, and celebrations broke out across the planet. But sadly, those celebrations were short-lived, as only a few hours after the offensive's initial success, the third and final battle for Malevelon Creek began.
Just
While
a
the
few
Helldivers
hours.
reveled in the temporary success of retaking the creek, the automatons launched what appeared to be a last-ditch effort to regain control of the planet. Initially thought to be just another lackluster counter-offensive, the SEAF soon realized that the bots had an ace up their sleeve. The Clankers introduced new potent weapons of war in the form of aerial gunships and colossal factory striders. These bot units proved to be extremely difficult to deal with, and many Helldivers forfeited their lives attempting to fight back against the now augmented automaton forces. As most of you are now well aware, aerial gunships are armed aircraft that scan areas for Helldivers. If detected, they use a turret mounted on their undercarriage and fire rockets to annihilate any target they engage. To make matters worse, these units often patrol in groups of 3, making eliminating them a team effort. Then factory striders, often referred to as walkers, are giant heavily armored vehicles equipped with dual miniguns located
First time I saw that, I thought it was the mixture of an AT-AT from Star Wars, and also that big machine from Black Ops 2, the one that literally walks the same way. That's the first thing that came to mind as soon as I saw this machine.
underneath their cockpit, as well as a large top-mounted heavy cannon. In addition, these walking terrors are able to fabricate automaton devastators, making them one of the biggest threats on the battlefield. The fact of the matter is that these new units took most Helldivers completely by surprise and provided greater challenges in keeping the bots at bay. With the significant increase in the number of automaton forces and weaponry arriving on the planet, High Command had no choice but to issue an immediate evacuation order for all civilians. The Helldivers were thus instructed to deploy immediately in order to assist with providing cover while super citizens were rushed off the planet. As evacuation procedures commenced, the Helldivers found themselves pitted against the augmented bot forces, risking life and super limb to achieve all mission objectives. Finally, after 9 hours of relentless, brutal fighting, the Helldivers were able to successfully repel the automaton offensive. On April 3, 2184, MALEVELON Creek was completely purged of the automaton threat. The sounds of explosions, gunfire, and rocket barrages no longer filled the air, but the smell of blood and burning oil lingered for days after the final conflict ended. The president of Super Earth subsequently issued a decree recognizing April 3rd as MALEVELON Creek Memorial Day. Commemorative capes were then gifted to
Remember the Creek kind of makes me think of Remember Reach from Halo. The fallen hero's vengeance. Our fallen... Bro, how big was this event that they get their own cape? The event gets canonized and there's a whole store behind it. Dude, that is crazy.
to all active Helldivers, honoring those who fell throughout the conflicts on the creek. 2 super destroyers were also assigned by High Command to remain in constant orbit around MALEVELON Creek, acting as a memorial and guard of honor for the Helldivers who gave their lives fighting for democracy. All things considered, MALEVELON Creek will forever remain as one of, if not the most treacherous campaigns in Super Earth's history. The events that took place live on through the personal accounts of the Creekers and first Helldiver Honor Guard who experienced it all firsthand. They say what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. In MALEVELON Creek, we tested that theory daily. Space Chief Prime Disappointed Dunsky. The day the Death Captain fell was the day we rallied and fought to the end on that forsaken planet, spilled oil to the last drop of our blood. Chief Wolfrange. The creek fell before the guard did. Technician X. I remember the fall of the creek, and I don't regret what we did one bit. We stood our ground when all had abandoned us, and secured our objectives. Saved everyone we could. Too bad we couldn't save ourselves. But honestly, I wouldn't have had it any other way. Fighting side by side till the bitter end with those you've grown to respect. Giving one last liberty-sized middle finger to the Automaton Supreme Commander Joel. Death Captain Koscheski. It's testimonies like these that ensure
it was the players that were shown earlier
as the stuff of legends. It also serves as a beacon and prescient reminder of what can be achieved when Super Earth's brave citizens truly devote themselves to freedom and democracy. And with that, we end another Super Earth history broadcast from the SES. So what do you think caused the automatons to be so aggressive in capturing Malevelon Creek in the first place? And do you think they will ever try it again? Be sure to let us know down below. And if any of you loyal citizens experienced the battle for the creek firsthand, relive those epic and tragic events by telling us your story in the comments section. As always,
like I said,
anyone expressing controversial ideas will have their activities immediately reported to the relevant authorities. On behalf of the Ministry of Truth and Super Earth High Command, this is the SES signing off. On behalf of the
Wait, so if they have it in the comments, I kind of want to take a look at that. So advancing too late, Malevelon was the very first planet I went to on launch. Now I can't have peaceful hikes in the wood anymore. The fact that this was your first planet, dude, that's crazy. Veteran, the creek is enjoying PTSD. No creek. When the trees started to sing, I broke out in a cold sweat. I didn't understand what was happening. Dude, that's crazy. Remember that day like it was yesterday? Hazard fire objective simple. Get in, blow up 3 enemy bases, and get out. I was then chief rank diver or squad leader frequent. Man, dude, you guys are making it sound like this is a Vietnam War. I was a cadet when I got there. I died over and over. Man, that's crazy. But dude, it's really good to hear your guys' stories. All right, next one is called The Tragedy of Malevelon Creek Helldivers 2, and this one's called Evan F. 1997.
Hello? Do you read me? I'm a Helldiver marooned on Malevelon Creek. I've seen that hell isn't a fiery pit.
Malevelon.
It's a humid cesspool.
Malevelon.
With trees that speak binary. Don't bother looking for us.
The trees that speak binary.
I assume the Tsar sector is next. If you're receiving this transmission, I don't ask for aid. I don't ask for reinforcements. Don't even mourn me or my brothers. All I ask for is rage. Spill oil.
Spill oil.
Tragedy had struck what the Helldivers community deems Space Vietnam. Malevelon Creek, the universe's western frontier against the automaton assault on democracy. Gone, snatched away from the Helldivers across Super Earth. But we mustn't let them win. This is the fall of Malevelon Creek and the Helldivers 2 community's pursuit for a total victory.
Oh, Terminators. Space Vietnam.
In 2024, I am shifting my channels both towards variety content. A lot of you who were already subscribed were used to my Destiny content before, but this year we're covering games communities like the beautiful one around Helldivers. So tap the red button of freedom, up, down, right, left, up, the like button, and let's carry on to the video.
All right, let's hear your story.
We all have a place that we cherish as the standout winner in our favorite game. For these, there's usually a mission associated to it that was so emotionally powerful that you couldn't help but fall in love. For some, it was Mombasa streets in Halo 3 ODST, the environment rainy, and music just perfect as if you were a part of the war. For others, it was found in repetition of losing to a boss that you just couldn't beat, but smiled while losing the fight over and over again. For other Space Marines,
Reach.
it was the fall of Reach. And unfortunately, in our story, it's the fall of another planet. For the Helldivers community, it was and always will be Malevelon Creek. Well, why is that the case, Evan? And the answer...
So I guess in a way to put it, Malevelon Creek is like Reach and Halo. I mean, both holds like a special place in those like players' hearts, but each of them, both of them, have like a tragic history and tragic moment. So it's really cool to see that Malevelon Creek managed to like make its way into a canonized event.
I will always give is simply, why is that even a question? Realistically, Helldivers 2 has had many planets that are all immersive as hell, with diversified weather, sometimes allowing the clear path of serenity and beauty to be seen, and other times,
I cannot see, I'm legally blind.
These planets all have their own stories, which I hope to cover one day. But Malevelon stood out as the clear winner because it's Space Vietnam. With mossy fields, jungle landscapes, and the right amount of freedom running through players' veins, this place became the mainstay of the Helldivers all around the world. However, there is a deeper story going on than just an automaton invasion that made this place so special. For starters, you should already know this, so stop wasting time learning the enemy and start practicing your aim. Secondly, to understand the automaton, you must first remember what they took from you and where they came from. A silly little idea called socialism that the cyborgs in the first Helldivers practice, and led to augmenting themselves in an attempt to match the naturally stronger and smarter soldiers of Federation-approved democracy.
To be clear, I did not play the first Helldivers at all, so Helldivers 2 is the first time I was ever exposed to something like this. So if there's more to the story in the first Helldivers, I missed it.
By the end of the first game, we saw them eradicated. However, as we drop into the next, we see a new faction named the Automatons, who brandished the same emblem and socialist ideals. You might hear them shouting things like,
"We have eliminated inequality,"
in their stupid robot voices. And I'm going to write down them into a million pieces.
That is a great
Misinformation
strategy.
has been spreading
I really
about
like
that the
using it.
glorious Federation's desire for these battles is to appropriate automaton AI to shore up our election software. But all Helldivers who died on those fields know otherwise. Why would elected Super Earth officials want us to fight their wars knowing that they would profit and fix elections to stay in power? They've been in power for so long. Everyone just clearly loves them. This ironic humor and realization from Arrowhead and the Helldivers community spurned any who would dare say no to Malevelon Creek, and had started such an immersive rally that you can't help but love it. The beauty that we discussed with the Helldivers 2 community in the previous video is at the core of the game, and its live service done right. One comment really stood out to me on this topic by Jesus Christ 7833, and it was simply pure 2000s content. That's right. Live service had made a name for itself being a chore and mostly a job. But Helldivers is immersing its story with the player's actions. The Galactic War Map never sleeps, and neither do the Helldivers who race to liberate a planet each day. Malevelon Creek seemed to be an unwinnable fight, starting with this TikTok blowing it up to the masses.
There's one before this, but we couldn't find it.
Galactic War Update. Emergency alert. Mantis and Vandalon 4 have come under attack yet again. All available Helldivers are requested to make a move to the planets and establish...
Hello? Do you read me? I'm a Helldiver marooned on Malevelon Creek. I've seen that hell isn't a fiery pit.
Which then started spreading throughout all of TikTok
Malevelon
and
Creek.
channeling all social media in general. The combination of Super Earth broadcasts, the community voice actors, and the genuine roleplay the game immerses everyone at home into created the perfect place for the community to never stop fighting for.
So I must.
However,
I guess I was saying it
Arrowhead
wrong.
designed a certain mission type that unfortunately has seen more casualties than victories. While launching ICBMs feels vindicating, recon and scouting does a lot for our pursuits, the elimination of targets never gets old. On the other hand, evacuation and defense missions are the biggest losses. Right now, if you ask any Helldiver what the suicide mission is, they will tell you it is defense. And that's because on top of defending a crowded area away from automatons, the hostages must make a safe exit and run through the battlefield. Unfortunately, they don't follow proper code and are lost in the battlefield. To negate the damages, the Federacy will deduct your pay for every hostage lost if you survive or die in combat, which then allows even more reduced pay.
Yeah, the evacuate the citizens mission was just something else. Not only first do you have to do like some sort of broadcast mission, that's like a sub objective, and then you gotta evacuate the citizens. But sometimes the citizens come out when they come out in like groups of 3 and head over to the shuttle. You gotta wait until that button resets until you get more citizens to come, and not only that, they're out in the open, and I don't know, man. To be honest, that's my least favorite mission.
In the end, if you die, to your family and future Helldivers around the world. God damn it, I love democracy. These missions are chaos and only harder the more the difficulty is ramped up. Just have a look.
Oh yeah, Rego just got spawned into a whole instant death.
Dude, that is talking about bad luck.
The pass didn't happen? Yeah, I didn't realize. No, getting slowed. Yeah, no, you actually like threw him into death.
I'm dead yet. Now he's dead.
What? How? What?
Oh, he got out of
This
it?
guy's a beast. So, for Malevelon Creek, it was only going to be a matter of time before it fell to those dang socialists.
It's fallen. So you can't play it anymore.
But what if I told you?
Wait, what's the one with Thanos? Did you liberate Mort? Yes. What did it cost? So to liberate Mort, they lost Malevelon Creek.
But what if I told you that at the center of it all...
Hey, if Malevelon Creek becomes playable one day, if it becomes playable one day, I swear to God, it will break the internet.
There's a supervillain in charge. For the time, Malevelon was lost. Articles and emergency broadcasts around Super Earth were showcasing all of the tragedy unfolding. And to be honest, people were at a loss of words. The group of Helldivers, known as the Creek Crawlers, were the main force keeping Malevelon alive. But quickly, it fell to an event known as the Massacre at Malevelon Creek. Since then, everyone has tried to keep it alive and represented all the memes around this place. You can't go anywhere without another Helldiver knowing Malevelon. Just as you can ask someone who doesn't own Helldivers 2, because they're on Xbox, about it, and they will still know what we're fighting for. A white whale with a heart kept beating by chance of spill oil. But we have found that Malevelon is coming back, and that the fight isn't over. In fact, since it fell, Helldivers have been urgently, and especially the Creek Crawlers, have been extra antsy to get in. And the question of the creek and how it fell plays into what Arrowhead have deemed the Game Master, a supervillain role at Arrowhead. Someone's whole job to reinforce the socialist scum. There has also been reports of traitors in Helldivers 2. But for those stories, we will save them for another video. Thank you so much for coming to this community video on Helldivers 2, and until the next one, I will see you then. And we lost it again. Get to it, Helldivers.
So, taking Malevelon Creek. Real Marines taking Malevelon Creek. Interesting. But either way, so this event became so famous that it literally got canonized, and people are now telling it like a story. And like I said, please let me know, is Malevelon Creek like just lost, that you can't play it anymore, or can it be played? But however, we gotta like work our way to it, like capture the surrounding planets, and then we'll be able to get back on it. So please let me know in the comments below. And like I said, if you experience Malevelon Creek, please let me know in the comments as well. I like to hear you guys' stories and experiences. But besides that, this was great. So shout out to my subscribers for recommending this to me. And it was really great. If you guys have more things you guys want me to watch, then please put it down in the comments below, and I'll try to get to it when I can. But either way, today was Helldivers 2 Malevelon Creek lore, and I was really happy to watch it, and I really enjoyed it. So thank you guys for tuning in today. Thank you guys for watching. Hit that notification bell so you know when I drop another video. And also shout out to all my members, subscribers, viewers. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much for your support, guys. I really do appreciate it. So without anything else, I'll see you guys next time.